So, welcome again, everyone. And Jenika, I just have to say, I'm so sorry I put your maiden name on the flyer because I mixed
Okay.
them up. So, you guys, I just want to welcome a great friend of mine, top income earner, top point earner for the VIP Elite Experience, number 4 out of thousands and thousands in our company, you guys. She is a hustler. She is such a hard worker. She absolutely leads from the front. She loves her team and she is willing to help. Like, anytime I've talked to Jenika, she's been willing to help. And I'm just so appreciative of you. And I'm super excited for everyone to hear from you today. So, welcome again. Jenika, can you just share a little bit about yourself and your journey with It Works for those of you those on here that maybe don't know much about you or your story?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Jenika Winter. I'm going to actually clarify. If they call me Watilla, I still go by it because I legally have not changed my last name because I travel too much. So I actually am technically Jenika Watilla. I've never turned in the paperwork. So whatever they call me, we go with. There's only one Jenika in the company as of right now, so I know who they're talking about. But you guys, I have been a part of It Works now for a little over 9 years. My 9 years was just last week. Um, it has been an absolutely crazy journey. When I joined this business, life looked really different for me. So you see me on social media now. I'm traveling constantly. I just got back from New Orleans yesterday. I'm on my way to Seattle and Alaska right now. I leave in 40 minutes. And it looks fun right now, but before It Works, it was kind of out of a movie. Um, I come from a family of addicts. My mom is a severe alcoholic. My dad is what people would consider a career criminal. He was not only on Minnesota's Most Wanted, but he was on America's Most Wanted. If you can imagine what my household looked like, I had 10 siblings, there was 11 of us total. Um, and my parents were absent since day one. I'm the oldest. And so since the day I can remember, they weren't really there. Um, Throughout those years, crazy things happened. And two of my little brothers were diagnosed with autism. Might have been the saving grace of my life, to be honest with you. The fact that there was two children who really could not survive on their own. Not that any of us could, but they really couldn't. So I knew that like this wasn't right, that stuff wasn't supposed to be this way, that there had to be more from a really young age. I'm gonna fast forward through all the sappy, sad stuff. At 16 years old, which is kind of a sappy, sad thing, I had a baby. Another saving grace. I don't condone teenage pregnancies, but I will tell you, if it wasn't for this little girl, life would look a lot different. That was kind of the nail in the coffin to know we were not going to continue down that path. Like we were not going to continue to stay in that house. We were not going to continue to live like that, watch stuff like that, do stuff like that. I got to move out in the state of Minnesota. There's not an emancipation law, but since I was a baby with a baby at 17 years old, I got very, very lucky and I was able to move out of that house. Not only did I move out, I took my two autistic brothers with me. So at 17 years old, I was a baby with two boys. I was not in a relationship. It was single mom and 100%. I graduated high school early, actually. Went off to college right when I was supposed to, was working 3 jobs and had 3 kids. It was, like I said, kind of something you see out of a movie, but when your back's up against the wall and if there's a will, there's a way. Um, I truly, truly believed that, working 3 jobs was going to get me where I needed. But if any of you guys have children, let alone children who are autistic or with disabilities, 3 jobs isn't going to get us anywhere. And it was hard because you have speech therapy and then you have this and then you have that and then you have to go and meet with the teachers and meet with their the special ed programs and the school and all of that, to the point where my jobs were tolerating me because they felt bad for me, which I knew that was not going to get me far. I was still a kid, and these people were adults watching me try to survive. When I got any older, it was going to be, hey, we have to buckle down on you. And so I kept trucking along during this period. I gained over $150,000 in debt, didn't even have a vehicle that cost more than 3 grand, and I did not own a home. This was basic living that caused that. This was food, this was gas, this was paying for 3 children. I didn't really have much of anything. So let's fast forward a little bit more. I met my now husband, and he just was like, what did I get myself into? What did I get myself into? And who are these kids? And why do I have three all of a sudden? No, he loves them. And we moved even further away from my family. And that was probably one of the better choices I've ever made. And I'm gonna kind of go into that actually when we start talking. And I found it works. I moved, I moved into this new house. I find this saving grace, this guy shows up, which I was the type of person who's like, I'm never getting in a relationship and I'm surely not getting married. And this guy shows up and he just is so supportive of everything. And I had been watching this girl on Facebook for over 6 months, you guys. And I really wanted to jump in onto it, but I was so nervous because I already had my plate so full, I thought. I had my plate so full, so I was so nervous. And all of a sudden one day this girl, she was 19 years old, 18, 19 years old. She had one baby already and she was pregnant with a second. She was a single mom. She bought a house. And the thing that finally got me is she put granite countertops in her home. I always laugh at this. I still don't have granite countertops. I still don't have them, but it's what sold me on the business. I knew, wow, if she could have two kids and she was actually younger than me, why can't I do this? I mentioned it to Cody, my now husband, and he said, do it. He said, if anybody can do it, it's going to be you. And I'll kind of go into more of my story when we actually do these questions, but that's what I got for you for the story part.
Jenika, what a powerful testimony. And I know I knew a lot of that, but there are some things that I didn't even know that you just shared. So, girl, you've gone through a lot in your life, and yet look at what you have made of yourself for you and your family through one decision to say yes and take a leap of faith. When really you started 9 years ago and people were still kind of just not even really sure what network marketing was at that point in time. So, such a powerful story. Happy anniversary. And we'll keep moving forward because Jenika flies by the seat of her pants and she has a flight here soon too. So I'm just appreciative that she took the time to speak and pour into us today. So Jenika, let's talk a little bit about, like, everyone wants to know, like, I know that you keep to simple steps, but what do you do daily to grow your business? Like, what does that look like? And
Yeah.
share that with everyone here on the Zoom.
Um, I knew when I joined this business that it was a business. I did my due diligence. I did my research. I understood instantly that I was joining a business. And I knew I wanted it to pay me like a business. I don't want it to pay me like a hobby. I don't want it to pay me like I have a lemonade stand outside. I want it to pay me like a very, very successful business, and it can. So, from a very, very brand new distributor who joined, I knew if I treated it like a business, it would pay me like a business. And so, let me kind of explain how I run things. I was insanely busy. And my brothers now are 23 and 19. They actually do not live with me anymore. They actually live on their own. It works had been able to get them pretty much everything they needed to. My brother is one of the main mechanics now at Harley Davidson, actually. I'm so proud of him. And I just like scream that from the rooftops because 9 years ago, I didn't even know if he would be able to verbally have a conversation with somebody. And, but during that time, so with having that backstory, you guys, talk about being busy. I understand what that felt like, but I knew that if nothing changed, nothing changed. I knew that if I didn't treat this like a business and if I didn't put like everything I had into it, I couldn't get it off the ground. It's kind of like that airplane analogy, right? Like you cannot turn the engine off of an airplane when you're starting to go up. Like you got to go. You got to go as fast as you can. And so I treated this just like that. As a person who had three children all the time and now still has a 16-year-old daughter, I knew that I had to get up before them. I had to wake up. I wake up every day. I actually responded to you this morning. I typically try not to do that to people. I responded to you at like 3:30 a.m. I wake up every day at 3:30 in the morning, every single day. I still do that today. Some people will look at me like I'm crazy. You know, that's what was able to get me out of working three jobs. That was able to get me out of debt. I now am still debt free and I live in my dream house. I have two of my dream vehicles. I paid off that 150,000. And so I stick to things that I know will work. I create my schedule. I know I create my schedule and so does everybody else. So I wake up early. The next thing that I do, you guys, is I habit stack. I habit stack everything. This is something that I heard on a Zoom when I was a new distributor. And they're talking about habits. I actually made a list of everything I did throughout the day. If it was, did you go to Starbucks this morning? Did you make food and stand there and scroll on TikTok for 5 minutes while the hamburger was browning? Did you take a bath? Do you go to the bathroom? Do you wait in the school pickup line? What do you do? And I made a list of all of the things I did and I habit stacked them from there. So for me, I actually drive 3 hours every single day to get my daughter to and from school. It is a blessing and a curse. And during that, I get in my car 5 to 10 minutes before my daughter even gets outside. I sit there and work. She knows if she comes outside with me, the car's not leaving. The car is not leaving. We have stuff to do. Drop her off at school. I sit there and I do that. Um, I get home. I sit in my driveway. It's little things like that as a busy person to really get you where you want to go. One of the biggest sayings that I ever heard too that really transformed my business is I can do it when I want, not if I want. And I knew that if I wanted to have a super successful business, if I wanted to have a life of what I desired, if I wanted to travel monthly, if I wanted to be able to go debt free, pay cash for Christmas, make sure I wasn't putting groceries on credit cards, all of those types of things, have a bank account that I don't have to check, that I had to start treating it that I can do it when I want, not if I want. So when could I find that time? Not could I find time, when can I find time? So I know it's kind of a weird way to answer that question, but that's what I got for you for that one.
I absolutely love it. And honestly, that's kind of what I wanted to hear. It's just like the things that we do are very simple, but it's about being consistent and it's about finding that routine and working it when you can and not ever giving an excuse as to why you can't.
Yep.
So no, I love that. Okay. So how are you working with your team to be one of the most successful, fastest growing teams in the company? And how are you creating and keeping that constant momentum?
Um, okay, so I read that question wrong. Let me think on this.
Well, you go ahead and answer and share from
No,
that.
this will be good because I didn't get to plan it. So usually when I
Okay.
plan stuff, it goes south. To be truthful, you guys, I'm a very, very honest person. So let's just go there. To be truthful, again, I understand business. I really always dive into business development. Okay. Personal development's great. I do that every single day as well, but I always make sure I'm having business development. And one thing that I heard with like a lot of I love like reading stats. I want to know the numbers. I'm a very big numbers person. And so I started pulling up a bunch of stats. This was really early on in my business. And it said that your first line team will only do 30 to 50% of what you do. Well, this got me into thinking all sorts of things. In that your first line, so if you have your first top people and they're only going to do 30 to 50, and here's the thing, like I said, I'm a numbers person. Some of my team's on here right now, and they're going to be like, she actually pulls those numbers and checks if they're accurate. I actually do that. They are accurate. And so I know for me, I have to set standards on what I want, and I have to have those boundaries of what I want. And then if I want to be the next ambassador, or I want to be the next Ruby, or I want to be the next triple, I need to remember that I have to probably double up on what all of my team is doing. This is what creates momentum. The speed of the leader is the speed of the pack. If the leader moves slow, the pack moves slow. If the leader moves fast, the team moves fast. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be enrolling 100 plus customers a month either. This just means maybe communication, small settings, power hours, team Zooms, any of the things we get together like once a quarter. We do all of those types of things. And when it comes to creating momentum, all it is, you guys, is if you believe it, if you truly believe it. So I don't know what ranks everybody's going for. So I'm going to pick on one of my girls. Okay. Let's say Brittany Stone over here. She says, I'm going double diamond this month. And if she truly believes that, and she really is working her butt off to it, her team's going to follow suit. Her team's going to follow suit because passion breeds more passion. And so when I'm like, we're going for 600 customers this month with, like, I'll do it with or without anybody. My team's like, nope, we're going with. If I sit on my hands and say, life sucks right now, they're not going to come with. If I sit there and I don't have vision or goals, there's not going to be momentum. But if I'm sitting there and I'm like, Brittany Stone, you're going double diamond this month. Let's go. Her whole team's feeding off of my excitement and Brittany's excitement. And so then what would I do next? I'd put them in chats. I would be challenging them. Daily tasks. What can we do? Can we have a team goal? They always say on all of our calls, if your team doesn't know the goal, They're not going to hit it. They're just simply not going to hit it. So what's your goal? Every single night, we actually have a team off going on with Amanda Busher's team right now. Sorry, Amanda, if you're still here. But and you know what? I'm in that chat like, I swear if we don't get 100 points ahead of them, like I'm gonna sit here and host till my fingers bleed. Like, and the team's like, yes, let's go. But if I'm like, I was just in New Orleans and there was some nights where I'm like, well, I would rather go do stuff with my team and I wasn't as loud and my team wasn't as loud. It was kind of crazy. You know, it was like I was enjoying my time and I kind of maybe forgot about the people back at home. Sorry, team, if you didn't come to NOLA. And I was enjoying my time with them while I was there. And I noticed, wow, momentum really is created from the leaders. It really starts with you. It really starts with your excitement. Do you really actually believe it yourself? You have to believe it for them to believe it. If you are sitting there and Brittany Stone saying, I'm going to double diamond, and nobody's going to believe her if that's how she sounds. Nobody's going to want to chase that vision with her, right? Like, but if she's like screaming it from the rooftops and like she has it broken down and she's talking about it every day in chats, they're going to run right with her. So that's what I believe in momentum. It starts with you.
So good. So good. Okay, so when encountering obstacles, what have you done to overcome them? And maybe give an example if you can.
Okay. My middle name is Obstacle. That's literally my middle name. I swear to you. My team is literally laughing. Like, I'm serious right now. And like, if there is something that can come in the way, it's going to. And at this point, I accept it nicely. I'm like, let's go. Watch this. Like, I guess I look at it like this. If something bad isn't happening, is anything happening at all? Like, there's some sayings that say a person goes through something bad every 6 months. Just, it's so bad, right? Like, it's just always something. And that doesn't mean, though, we have to stop. So this is actually something I get really passionate about, is that businesses are not ran off of emotions. There are going to be a lot of people who argue on this one to me. I get people who say, Jenika, that's not nice, but let's go there. Since the day I've been born, have had the cards against me. If I understand obstacles, if anybody understands obstacles, it is truthfully me. I understand what it feels like to be alone. I understand what it feels like to be the teen parent. I understand what it feels like to go through the bad breakup or have the kids that are sick. I understand what it's like to have X, Y, and Z happen, or where you have to count change for gas and you have to go into work early and stay late and you feel like you have no time. I understand that. But one thing that we have to understand is that emotions don't build businesses. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that in a way when you can have that mentality, stuff changes. You know, if I'm sad, what I do, I still get up. You know what I do if I'm mad? I still get up. If I'm happy, I still get up. If I'm sick, I still get up. If there was a death, I still get up. I still get up. And I guess I've learned over the years, you can either be a victim of your situation and have a pity party for yourself. Oh, my kid's sick. Oh, my husband lost his job. Oh, you know, X, Y, and Z happened. My dog got pink eye. And I'm going to take the day off because of it. Or you could be the person who's like, I know you guys are a really nice team, but I'm just going to say F this, and I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to accomplish X, Y, and Z. Because every 6 months, I want you to think about something. I want you to think about what's happening in your life right now. And I understand, I feel you. If you messaged me, I could probably sympathize. And I'd be a friend to you, and I'd be the listening ear. But I'd also be the person that says, I want you to write down the bad thing that's happening right now. Now I want you to think about 6 months ago. What was happening then? What was the excuse then? What about 6 months before that? What was happening then? Every 6 months, a person's life changes in a way that they think it's the end of the world, in a way that they think that that's the worst thing that could happen to them, in a way that they think that they're paralyzed and they cannot move. And this is something that will continuously happen to you because we're humans. And I don't wish that upon anybody. I don't wish for you to have bad days. I wish for you to have the best of best days. Even as an ambassador, I still have bad days. Every single person does. But when I had the mentality that my business is not ran off of emotions, that's when the game changed for me. That's when I knew, you know, I have another thing. This is a little bit of an aggressive one. I know, Stacy, you guys are really nice people, but But let me ask you something. And some of you are going to be like, dang, you're ruthless. But I need to ask you something. Think of your top 5 problems in life. And I know this sounds terrible, but majority of them money can fix. I think about when I didn't have time with my daughter. Money could fix that. It did fix that. I got to stop going to work. I got to hire somebody to mow my lawn. I got to hire people to do that types of stuff. I get to actually spend more quality time. I think about the bill collectors. Obviously, money can fix that one because the bills were paid. I think about the things like that I wish I could. I remember going to Toys for Tots for Christmas. Money could have fixed that. And it did. And so I tell myself all the time, like, your business is not built off of emotions. Your business is built off of efforts. And at the end of the day, as hard as the day gets, it still keeps going. And so I guess I look at it this way. I want you to think of the top 5 things that are going on in your life. And I want you to ask yourself, how can I work around that and not let it work against me? How can I be a victor of my situation instead of a victim of my situation? How can I push forward instead of sitting here and retreating backwards? Because I'm telling you, nothing good comes from somebody who's constantly retreating backwards. It's going to constantly keep happening. Then all of a sudden, you lose a leg, or a customer cancels, or this happens, and it kind of piles up. There's a podcast. I want you guys to all write it down. I'm a huge self-development person, and I wanna actually add, if you feel like life is against you, I felt like that. Like, I don't need you to raise your hands, but I've been there. I've done that. I've been that person. You need to listen to self-development. Do yourself a favor. This has nothing to do with It Works Even. This will change your entire life. Okay. So, let me get the podcast up for you. This is absolutely one of my favorite ones. Almost I think 3 times a week. The Mindset Mentor. He talks about constantly in this podcast that if you're a race car driver, or you're driving a car, or you're whatever, and you constantly are staring at the crash, you're going to crash into the crash. That if you're sitting there, if you're looking past the crash, you're going to go past it. So this is something they teach people when they go into NASCAR and all of that. And it was so powerful. It was one of those things that made me really quickly realize that I'm actually constantly focusing on the crash. And I realized that really quickly about myself. What did I spend my day concerned about? And then there's a thing in his podcast that goes on and talks about this all the time. And I looked this up because I didn't believe it, and I'm a numbers person. 80% of the things you think about don't even happen. 80% of the things that you're concerned about, that you're nervous about, that you're panicking about, that you wasted your day on, don't even happen. And that got me really into thinking about my own life, the things I would panic about, the things that would keep me up at night, the things that would take me out of the game, the things that would keep me from getting my host to post up, or getting my stories up, or doing what I was supposed to be doing. And then I realized really quick, it didn't even happen. I started writing them down. I started figuring out myself. I started learning, who was I? Who could I become if I started fixing these habits of my own? If I could start adding habit stacking in, if I could start adding self-development, if I could learn that my business is not ran off of emotion, where could I go to after this? And it's not, some people can say, like, this is an aggressive approach. I personally don't think it is. I personally think it's a peace approach. I personally think that it brings me clarity. It brings me a lot of peace. I go to sleep at night knowing that I'm critically thinking instead of worrying. It brings me all the things that you don't, or all the things that you didn't think you would have after being that person who thinks them through. So I hope that one answered. I know, I think I'm a little off on all the questions.
You're absolutely incredible. I just love you. Girl, you are just speaking such truth and so many things that I feel like no matter how long you've been in this business, no matter how successful you've been, we can all benefit from that truth. Okay. So so first we're going to go to the newbies. If you had to give anyone that just got started in their first 30 to 60 days advice or a tip, what would it be?
So this can apply to actually both, but we can move to the second question as well still. So, okay, let's go back to my story. I moved into that house. Remember, we were just at that new house. So I moved into this house, and so during the process when I met Cody, I actually moved back into my mom's house for a second. Long story short, she had went to treatment. There's a bunch of kids there. Who's going to take care of them? All of the kids then now were starting to be over 18, moving out. I just had my two autistic brothers, myself, Cody, Kaylee, and one of my brothers moved into a apartment or a duplex. I left everything for my other siblings who were over 18 staying with my mom. And we moved in and we had a bed for Kaylee. My brother didn't even bring his bed. He didn't want it. He was like, I'll sleep on the floor. Like he didn't want anything to do with that place. And then we had a mattress on the floor. We left everything. Cody came from Kansas City and he moved out of his parents' house. Why am I telling you this? Um, I don't know if you've ever moved and didn't have silverware, but it sucks. It is not fun. And this was the game changer of my life. I realized we had something like you guys have right now. We had weekly bonuses. They were $100 bonuses. They were not the fancy 150s and 350s like you guys have. They were $100 and they got paid weekly. I knew that visualizing things were absolutely crucial. And I also knew that if I broke down my goals, I would hit them faster. So I started breaking my goals down into weekly bonuses. During this period, I went from a brand new distributor to a double diamond in 3 months because I focused on them. Let me tell you how I did this. Cody bought me, they still have the laptop. Every time I go to Walmart, I literally think about it and just how much I hated that laptop, but loved it. They have these $100 laptops. He bought me this $100 cheap little pink laptop. I don't even like the color pink, and a printer. I started printing out everything I needed for my house. I broke it down into how much it cost. I didn't go and buy the nicest things. I bought what I needed: a microwave, a bed, a couch, a table stand, or a nightstand, or whatever, silverware. It started small, and I had the price tags with them. I knew if I could hit 5 weekly bonuses or $500, I could have all of the furniture or all of the necessities in my kitchen. The next week, I would move on and I would be like, okay, now we need to have groceries. That's going to be $200. I need 500 though, because I want to get X, Y, and Z for the bathroom and for my bedroom. The next week, I went back, okay, groceries, and then I started adding to it. I realized, holy buckets, this is insane. Because then I started getting paychecks. I didn't just get my weekly bonuses. All of a sudden, on the 15th of the month, I was getting a paycheck for all of that too. So then all of a sudden I needed 500 or 400 or $300 to furnish X, Y, and Z, but I was getting a maybe $600, $700 paycheck deposited. I didn't even add that in. I hadn't even thought about that because the weekly pay was so cool. And so then I was like, wait a second, I'm starting to grasp what this is. And so then I started doing it a little bit more. And all of a sudden I had furniture. I was paying cash for groceries. I remember that Christmas, that was our first Christmas. I joined in August 9th. How many of you guys are brand new? I just joined about a week, 10 days ago, 9 years ago, 10 days ago, right? And Christmas came around. And I remember being like, this is probably financially irresponsible, but I really don't care. And I was like, I'm going to have the best Christmas anybody's ever seen. I'm going to earn so much money. I don't give a nothing. I'm all in. And I remember I spent like $2,000 on Christmas. I still don't do stuff like that. But that was my sign to myself where it was like, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. And the residual income followed. I didn't need to know what an ambassador diamond was. I didn't even need to know what an emerald was. None of that mattered. Not telling you guys not to pay attention when they do that stuff, but I'm just saying, it doesn't actually matter. If you can figure out the four and ones, the rest will trail. The excitement. It's like that. There's that saying, what is that? Knowledge on fire. I don't know, but it's that saying. And all of a sudden, I was promoting, and let's go to New Year's. Promoted to double diamond, December 31st. Didn't even know how, didn't understand charts 100%. I understood them a little bit. I'd only been here for a few months. I didn't have an upline, but I understood that if I focused on weekly bonuses, and if I focused on small setting goals. So now, I don't know if you guys didn't hear this, 4 and 3s, they also pay out weekly. So if you're not in your quick start period, you can get paid out 4 and 3s weekly too. Maybe you decided, you're just starting to get back into your business. This is a great time to focus this way. Maybe it's your debt. Maybe it's Christmas. Why don't, you can start planning that and watch the magic happen as your business continues to grow when all you focus on is the small stepping stones like the silverware or the couch or the microwave or the toaster. And all of a sudden you're like, how am I number 5 income earner? Like, how did this happen? I just focused on the baby steps.
You're seriously a rock star. Oh my gosh. It really puts it into perspective when you think about those small goals instead of just focusing on, okay, I got to get $500 a month. I got to get $500 a month. No, break it down into the small goals for what you need at that point in time, make it tangible so that you can stay focused and reach them one at a time and then turn them into something even bigger.
Yep.
So, Jenika, you're incredible. Like, mic drop all the way. I'm so proud and honored to be your friend and sideline in this company. If there is anything that you had to share with our teams before you go that you want them to remember, yeah, just share some closing thoughts.
Yeah, I'm a big person in, well, just all things numbers. I'm a big person in business. But I'm also a big person in knowing like reality of business, right? Like how it ebbs and flows, and you're not going to have every single day is not going to be the best day, and all of those types of things. And I remember all those years ago, 9 years ago, not knowing seasons of businesses, not knowing the numbers, not knowing anything. And so I guess if there was one thing, we're about to be changing the graph. I don't know if this was publicly announced, but I'm about to announce it. I think it was. Stacey's like, we knew I was coming. But I think it was publicly announced. But we are going into green carpet in not even in a month. In a month. Team, was it announced? Conference is coming pretty close after that. I want to touch on that. I don't know if it was. I might have just ruined that, but good thing we didn't sign an NDA. So conference will be coming in January this year. I want to really touch on this. You could literally change the graph of your entire life taking right now serious. This will be the only time I've ever seen two events be this close back to back. And let me tell you something. Every year I go on a trip to New Orleans in August. I just got home from one yesterday. Every single year, my team has high promotions in September. We call it preseason. This is what my team has always considered. I used to create my own events in September. You guys, like I created my preseason event. Now corporate is giving us a preseason event. They're giving us green carpet. They're giving us the tools that we need this year. Take this serious. You cannot see a person or a team. Let's do football, for example. A football team has to practice before they have preseason, and they have to be in momentum, and they have to be ready to run. And then they have to get into preseason, and they have to be ready to win preseason games. Because you bet your butt, if they go into season and they lost every preseason game, they ain't feeling so hot. And then how are they going to get to that championship? And I want you guys to think about the layout we're in right now. We are in the health and wellness industry. We offer people two things: to become more healthy and to make more money. We are getting into a time with the economy right now where people literally cannot afford their groceries, let alone how are they going to afford Christmas? And then let's just be honest, social media and celebrities and the way the world is doesn't really make people feel good about themselves January 1st. We offer both of those. We have solutions for both. And then all of a sudden, we go straight into conference. How you treat this preseason is going to be able to determine the next 6 months of your life. If you decide, it could determine a lot longer than that, actually, even. And if you decide today is my day one, today's the day I'm going to stop letting emotions build my business. I'm going to stop giving excuses. Maybe I set that alarm a half hour earlier. I ask myself, where could I habit stack? I'm not saying work your business for 5 hours a day. I'm saying when you're sitting in the Starbucks parking lot, send out 10 messages. I'm saying when you're doing that, ask yourself these questions today. What can I do to habit stack? What can I do to get something more done, that 1% or 2% more? And then what can I do to be on top of this so I can win this preseason, so that I can win the real season, so I can go to that championship? Because it really does start with today. You're going to see so many teams. You guys, I'm actually getting nervous. I'm not going to lie. Like my team probably doesn't, I don't even say this. There are some teams right now where I'm like, if you don't slow down, like I swear, because they are taking preseason a little too seriously. Calm down over there. But they're taking it serious. How serious are you taking it? And then we go into that green carpet. They're going to drop some crazy stuff, you guys. I sit there and pick at corporate. I make them tell me things. And I'm like, oh, but so and so told me part of this. No, they didn't. And then they slip up and I'm like, okay, I'm excited. So if I'm excited, you should be excited. Then right after that, we go into conference, which is our biggest event of the year. What do you think is going to happen when you got 1% better every single day during your preseason? So my biggest tip of advice, take your preseason serious. Someone told me this.
So stinking good. I just appreciate you so much, Jenika. I'm probably going to watch this like 3 or 4 times myself. And I just, yeah, so many good nuggets. We appreciate you so much. You have a wonderful trip, and I cannot wait to see all of you at Green Carpet. It's going to be incredible.
Yes. Thank you guys for having me. Bye.
Yes, thank you so much again.